Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. It's Neon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're not talking about She-Ra today.
I'll try my best.
I know some of you are going to be very disappointed.
I can't promise.
We're actually going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about webcomics, webtoons, indie comics.
Only because people keep asking us.
People keep asking us for this, and this is one area that we actually do have some experience in. And we thought it'd be interesting to talk about. We're doing a live video because it's easier for us to do this.
He doesn't have to edit it.
Yeah, I don't have to edit it. So
and export it and everything else.
If I say something stupid, it just it's out there.
Well,
so
it's you, and
whatever.
everybody knows it's you.
So we'll talk a little bit about web comics. We actually have a webcomic.
We do have one. We just don't update it.
We've been doing it for about 8 years now.
Hello, by the way.
Hello. Now we actually have we actually have the chat window open.
We figured it out.
So
we're still early in. You never know.
We might start going into She-Ra.
Okay. Anyway, webcomics. I'm trying to stay on target. Go.
Okay, so webcomics. This was sort of the buzzword about 5 to 10 years ago. If you were going to do independent comics, you were going to make webcomics. Webcomics was where all the money supposedly was.
Yeah, I'm making quotes right now. Money was.
And what kind of prompted this? Well, we had people asking us about Webtoons, which is sort of a webcomics platform for mobile, which we're actually seeing a lot of Marvel and IDW people coming into Webtoons.
Okay, yes.
Now.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but that's something I'm very irritated about as well. So there is probably going to be some ranting, but go ahead.
Yeah, but really kind of what prompted this, for me anyway, was Project Wonderful shutting down.
Yes. Now, for those who don't know, Project Wonderful is like one of the best ways people could advertise their comics online, and you could just do you basically bid for a spot, and you could say, I'm willing to pay $5 a day, for example, and you'd pay $5 a day, or what I mean. It was, until someone outbid you. Yeah,
it was kind of like the eBay for advertising, but primarily it was used by webcomic sites to promote their comics on other sites. So if there was a larger webcomic out there, it was getting like 100,000 page views a day, you could, for relatively little money, advertise your comic on it, and hopefully those people.
And it worked.
It did work. It worked
back in the day.
Very,
it
very
worked
well.
Until certain people ruined it. But
yeah, so we have.
I don't know if we're mentioning those people or not.
Like Voldemort, we're not gonna mention those people. But anyway, it's shutting down, and this. For me, this is kind of like we can't. Geeky and I have been talking about. Webcomics changing, webcomics not being as viable as it was even 10 years ago to make, decent money at it.
But even what was viable, the same old people we're talking about other things from Marvel are trying to infiltrate now and take over.
Right. And we're going to talk about it because it really, to understand what's going on in print comics right now, you have to understand what went down in webcomics.
Yes.
About
so we're
10
taking
years
in the way
ago.
back machine.
So we're going the way back machine because people are like, where did all these people come from?
We
these
can
Tumblr
tell
people.
You where they came
we
from.
can tell you where they came from. Most of them came from webcomics.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people working in Marvel and DC, IDW especially, right now they got their start in webcomics, and then they sort of migrated into. They sort of got picked up. It was sort of like a farm team kind of a thing where they were. Marvel at one point, Marvel and DC actually came out and said they were watching webcomics artists to see if anybody had talent, and they would go kind of scout them from webcomics.
Well, now they come to you. You don't.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they closed their open submissions. So Project Marvel shut down, meaning it is less viable now to actually host a standalone webcomic site than it was even 4 or 5 years ago.
So what do people do if they want to do webcomic now?
Well, pretty much the only game in town now, if you actually want a chance, if you want a chance to make money doing webcomics, is probably Webtoons. So Webtoons, now we actually do have, we actually started posting our archive of our comic on Webtoons. And it's a good platform. I recommend go get Rumi and Two Kinds. Yeah, Two Kinds. Actually, did you know that Two Kinds, the guy who draws Two Kinds, is actually Markiplier's brother?
Yes, we know that.
Yeah, I don't know if too many people know that. We actually used to be on Keenspot with them. So back in the day. Anyway, in the Wayback Machine. But yeah, the guy who does Two Kinds is Markiplier's brother. That is 100%
His name
true.
is Tom too.
Yeah, Tom Fishbaugh. That is, and Mark Fishbaugh is Markiplier. Go figure. Small world. So everybody loves webcomics. Anyway, so yeah, Webtoons now has sort of become the 800-pound gorilla with webcomics. A lot of people are now. It sort of came in. It was based out of. Hey guys. It's based out of Korea. In Korea,
Yes.
Webtoons are incredibly popular because
Yes.
they're format
Over
for mobile
there,
devices.
webcomics are huge. Webcomics make
yeah.
money. Webcomics are
They
what
have TV
American
shows,
webcomics
they have-
want
yeah.
to be. And they brought that here, which is going to lead to other things down the road. But go ahead.
Yeah, so Webtoons came over with little fanfare about 3 years ago,
Yeah,
4 years
3 or
ago.
4 years ago.
Little fanfare and a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Webtoons came over and they were going to kind of try to take the U.S. by storm. They came over initially with a bunch of Korean strips,
Mm-hmm.
and then they started. Well, they had originally when they started, they had a contest, which they're doing again.
Well, but what they do is they would have certain people that if you are a certain person or they thought your comic was very viable for whatever reason, they would actually pay you a monthly wage basically to do so many updates a month and make the comic.
Right.
They were taking people that were people they already had with them already, and then they went and found comics that were very popular, and then they would offer it to them. The wage or whatever. And then for a while there they did a thing with Patreon where if you hit so many hits and likes and interactions a month, they would give you money, which we did, and they gave us money.
Right, which was actually a pretty good deal for the most part. I mean, because they didn't really have the ad revenue. I mean, for a lot of people, unless you have hundreds of thousands of page views per month, just like any other website, you're not going to make any substantial money.
Yes. And
with
ad rates in general for
ad
comics are really low.
They're
now.
bad.
Blogs still get good money, but webcomics, the ad rates are crap. And there's several reasons for this. One is because people cheat on their numbers a lot with comics. If you're always worried that so-and-so has so many readers and so-and-so is doing this all the time and they're so much better than me, I'll never be so-and-so. Don't worry about it yet because so-and-so is most likely cheating. And they often will buy views, clicks, Alexa. They can buy Facebook followers, Twitter followers. They can buy all that. It's all purchased, and it's very much cheated very often.
Yeah, a lot of it is, and actually that's kind of why there's so much bad. Why Project Wonderful I think kind of came into existence is because a lot of the bigger webcomics in the early 2000s, and they actually admitted
They bragged about it.
They actually admitted to it. There is a documentary out there called Stripped, and some of the guys, I think from Penny Arcade, I think it was Penny Arcade, came out and said they used to click on their own Google ads all the time. Well, because of that,
They'll ban you for life. Don't do that.
Google doesn't like webcomics sites, and a lot of that's because there's not a lot of text, I think, on the site.
We would often, with advertising places we used, get refunds from certain sites. I'm not going to mention who. We would get refunds back from the clickbait or the click fraud, the cheating. So ad rates are in the garbage. So that's why people are like, why bother having your own site? Because now you don't have Project Wonderful or ad rates. So places you can go are Webtoons and Tapas now, I guess it was Tapastic. Anyway, so they start out with a contest. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, so we'll go back to that. So,
and now they're doing it again.
Right. So when they first started, they had a contest. They were trying to get people to move their comics onto Webtoons, and they were.
Tapastic was paying people to put their comics on.
Tapastic was paying people, and Tapastic is the other.
The other one. They were here before Webtoons.
Tapastic was, it's Tapas now, and I think before that it was Big Panda or something.
I don't remember. It was a big problem before.
They were technically the first Korean style comics portal,
and they were actually paying people a lot of money to put your comic on there. And we were stuck in a contract with KeenSpot, so we couldn't go, and they kept trying to get us. And we're like, we want to, but we can't. And by the time we could, they weren't giving money out anymore.
Yeah, that's how we knew. That's how we knew of Tom Fishbaugh, because Two Kinds was the
we
biggest
were on
comic
there with
on
them.
KeenSpot. We used to get a lot of traffic off this comic too.
Yeah.
Anyway, back in the day.
So Tapastic, which was Tapastic then, and then Webtoons showed up. And Webtoons did a contest. Now the problem they had with their contest originally was people were downvoting, and they still do this. I don't know if you're ever on Webtoons, if you own comics on Webtoons. There are people that will go around and they will deliberately you can get voted on there, whether they still have that with the upvotes, downvotes.
Yeah, they
can get rated your score.
Right, they have a score on
people were
Webtoons,
going around and deliberately downvoting people they thought was competition to try to make themselves look better, to try to get themselves a deal on Webtoons and get themselves promoted.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I hate at Webtoons is that you can do that and it's crap. I mean,
yeah, you can basically have a bunch of friends of yours come in and downvote your direct competition, which actually lowers your search ranking. on the comic, and I don't know if it's as bad now as it was when it first started. But
It was bad when it first started. I'm talking about when it first started.
When they first had the first contest, and people basically had a chance to be a paid artist on Webtoons, which they would pay you a couple $1,000 a month. It was very cutthroat,
and people did not play nice.
They were not nice, and so we kind of like
we didn't get involved in that.
We didn't really get involved in the first contest. That we were just kind of like, we'll wait. Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. But Webtoons, so now. A couple of months ago, they decided to pull the plug on the Patreon thing, which was cool because basically it was how many subscribers you had and how many page views, and you would get paid based on that.
Which we did.
And it worked. Yeah, we got paid every month. They were good about that, but then they pulled the plug on it. I think last month or the month before, and so now they're going to supposedly do an ad revenue sharing thing, which that's always dodgy.
Yeah, here's the problem with that. Tapastic does that too, and the problem is you never got the money. If you have a CPM rate, their CPM rate was ridiculously low. It was really like questionable.
Yeah, like we know, running blogs, we know what the average CPM rates.
We know what it is.
We know what the CPM rates are, and you basically had to take their word for it that you were getting the money that you were promised. You did not have access to their analytics.
Why are we irritated with Webtoons right now? Let's talk about why we're irritated with Webtoons right now. Yeah,
Webtoons now, I do like the platform quite a bit. Like I said, we actually do have our own.
Yes, you can go check it. There's ours.
Yeah, it's Shadowbinders on Webcomics. We're putting the old stuff back up.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But anyway, so what happened there is Where are you?
No, it's okay.
I lost track of what I was talking about.
We're talking about Webtoons and how we don't like them right now. Well, we like them, but we're a little irritated with them. I guess that's how word I'm looking for.
Okay, so the deal...
It's a little irritating.
The deal with Webtoons is they started out basically with a lot of Korean material, and then they wanted American or North American creators to bring their stuff over to Webtoons to build the platform.
So then they get a new person. First, they have one person in charge. Used to be from Marvel. We'll start with that.
Yeah, the guy actually in charge of... who I think he's like their editor-in-chief is actually a Marvel person. He works for Marvel. What's the name of
ours? Ours is called Shadowbinders, and it's basically a girl from our world gets a magic ring and gets sucked into like a steampunk magic fantasy world, and she meets this very arrogant, egotistical mage named Crimson Wren, and hilarity ensues. It's like definitely like an ensemble cast type story.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like steampunk fantasy or romantic comedy. But anyway, with the Webtoons thing, they got this guy in from Marvel, and then that was a couple years ago. And then
he's sort of their American liaison. Like, it's still run by the Korean company Naver, which is sort of the Korean version of Google, and they run Webtoons. They brought Tom Akel in from Marvel, and he runs it. Is there something else you want to say?
No, I was just gonna say. Well, it was the last couple of years. It's been okay-ish.
They've always paid. I mean, they've always paid.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about who they're giving the paid gigs to.
Okay,
is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So for a couple of years now, there has been some people who they have come in, and now these people have had publishing deals, which their books didn't do that great, but they had publishing deals, and then suddenly they're giving them the paying gigs over other people who actually have an audience. And Tom actually ran into one of them at Wizard World, because he was a guest at Wizard World for doing Disney Comics. I'm not going to say who it is, but he actually ran into this person.
We had a conversation.
And this person was very nice to him until he found out we were kicking his ass on Webtoons.
Which is weird, because we really aren't. I mean, we're sort of like...
No, we're not. We're hardly... We haven't been doing much.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can see most of our comic on the regular website, which is like shadowbinders.com. We just were restarting it again on Webtoons.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how to...
But this person was very, very friendly and very nice. And then he pulled up our comic and he looked at it. He goes, "Oh, you have more followers and subscribers than I do." And then he wasn't nice to you anymore.
Yeah, I know. So here's what used to happen with Webtoons. What used to happen with Webtoons was they would look and they would see what kind of interaction you got on your comic. They would see how many subscribers you had.
Yeah, if you did really well.
And if you earned it, a lot of times, they would pick people out of obscurity. Like, this person's never had any kind of publishing deal, and they would actually give them a paid gig. And the paid gigs
belonged to the people.
Right. It was very kind of democratic. It was like, if your comic was popular and they saw merit in it and you updated regularly, they would invite you to be a paid creator, and you would get a couple $1,000s a month, like a stipend, and then more money depending on your page views.
Right.
And it actually...
But it was on merit.
It was based on merit. And it was actually a good system. And then for the rest of the folks on Webtoons, if you hit a certain number of page views per month, then you also got paid. That's the situation we were in.
So fast forward to recently, when they suddenly have hooked up with a person that scouts for IP for TV and movies. And as soon as that happened, everything changed.
And I can find that. Okay, so and I hate to bring up Bleeding Cool because, God, my computer's probably going to get some kind of scammy virus. Let me, I think it's a CCA, which is a Hollywood agency. Mm-hmm. And Webtoons made an announcement last year that they were going to, develop properties with this Hollywood agency. Because this is the end game for every...
They get this connection. And then suddenly, it's not based on merit so much anymore. Suddenly, people from publishing are jumping ship because, I smell money. Now, back in the day, if you've been doing webcomics for a while like we have, you're basically treated like you're second-class citizens, that you're amateur hour. Mm-hmm. And for some people, they were amateur hour. But I mean, a lot of people are very good, better than them.
Comics,
and you always were treated like that. Like even the Eisner Awards, I bring this up because it irritates me so much.
The Eisners are so rigged.
And it's rigged. Funny. I mean, that's a whole other podcast is about, both that and the Harveys. It's a Ringo now or whatever. Yeah. They were so rigged, it's not funny. But it used to be it was best webcomic, and then it became best digital comic.
So
and
they could include the Marvel, DC, Dark
people
Horse
have been nominated for literally a comic like 10 pages long because they were person with a publishing deal. I mean, that's the truth.
Here's the thing: there used to be some hard feelings, and putting that mildly, between people who did webcomics and people who did print comics. The print comics people basically thought they were better than the webcomics people. Well, if they
came in, they acted like you should, fall at their feet because I'm gracing with my presence.
I work for Marvel, and you beg for change.
And I know when Throwbent started, Mark Waid started coming around, people were like, "Oh my God, Mark Waid's here. We're legitimized now." And it's like, no, yes and no, because what they're doing is they're looking to jump ship to where the money is.
Right.
So as soon as they don't want anything to do with it until there's money and IP deals, and then bam, here they come.
So that's what's going on here. Webtoons basically built the platform on. I mean, I hate to
pretty much Fire Nation.
Yeah.
God, I love Avatar.
Webtoons built up their platform on the backs of a lot of hopeful comic book creators. They gave some of them publishing deals, which I thought was really cool. I thought it was a really good system. It was based on merit. But now, because the platform's gotten to a certain size, they've taken that away, and they're giving...
Basically, the same people keep getting these deals, too.
They're giving the publishing deals to the Marvel people and the IDW people and the people who have already kind of, screwed up print comics. Or now they're getting deals. Because, like Geeky said, now Hollywood is involved. And so the whole thing is kind of like a big giant, let's, use this platform we build up to get Hollywood.
They wanted nothing to do with webcomics. They literally acted like you were beneath them, even if you did more work than them. I mean, heck, at half time, even though you did actual print comics, a lot of times you got crap because you did a webcomic too. And then as soon as there's money, and as soon as there's a chance for them to get a TV deal, then suddenly they come running, and then it's no longer based on merit. It's based on who knows who. It's a giant circle jerk, and it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. So the people we have, so they just announced 2 months ago. This is right after. And again, we're not trying to just slam on Webtoons or slam on people.
No, we still use Webtoons.
We still use Webtoons, and not as much because the money's not.
Well,
there
I'll tell you what,
but
the audience and the interaction at Webtoons is one of the best places I've seen for audience interaction. People there really do care, and they are great audiences. So if you want to put a comic there, I completely recommend it.
Yeah, Webtoons.
As long as you're not looking for money.
Yeah, that's kind of what the whole video is about, is where the money is in webcomics and where it isn't. And it was in having your own site. You run your own site, and now it's harder.
And they ruined the ad revenue.
And then Webtoons came along and kind of it doesn't work as well as it used to.
You had your own site, and that worked until people ruined that with the ad revenue. And then you can go to Project Wonderful, and people ruined that with a whole other story I'm not going to get into right now. No. And then you went to Webtoons, and now that's ruined. So it's
Webtoons. So this is pretty much what we think the end game for Webtoons was. Using Korean money and using hopeful artists to get Hollywood deals for established comic book creators.
That's why I'm angry about this. I feel like I'm angry in every video. I swear to God, I'm not like a person who's angry all the time. Yeah. But this is what I'm angry about, is that they basically let people build this up. People would pay for their own ads. They were using Project Wonderful ads. They were paying for it.
They were.
To bring people into
people
Webtoons.
Were spending hundreds of dollars a month to advertise on
trying
other
to
websites.
boost themselves up to be noticed.
To get more...
Like, Senpai noticed me, you know, and they're just like paying all this money. And these people, it was the work of hundreds of people, bringing all these readers in, bringing their friends in, bringing all these people in. And they did all this work, and some were rewarded for it. And then as soon as there was big money, and as soon as there was IP deals, then screw you all. Thank you for building the platform. We're going to hand it over to these weenies now.
Cassie says she used to do a webcomic and was shocked when she logged into Project Wonderful. Yeah, I was shocked when Geeky told me the other day that Project Wonderful was dying, but there's a story behind that.
There's a story. I don't know if we'll get into it. We have it for another podcast. There is a story. We kind of were involved in the story.
Yeah,
we didn't cause it. Don't worry. We got involved.
Yeah, Project Wonderful hasn't really been viable for a couple of years because a lot of the bigger webcomics pulled out to go someplace else.
And there's a whole story behind that. Yeah. And that's another podcast. But
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of shill bidding and all this other underhanded crap
There's
that went
a
down.
lot of
We talked to the
weird
people in
crap
charge a
across the
couple times.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff. So it doesn't surprise me it died.
Now,
But anyway.
here's a fun fact, though. Project Wonderful. Now, we've always had really good interactions with them. In fact,
yeah,
I was on the
they
phone.
were nice.
I was actually on the phone with one of their employees for about an hour because
We've
of the
talked to people in the higher ups there a couple
right.
times.
But it's actually owned by Ryan North, who writes Squirrel Girl for Marvel.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason
That's
why.
kind
He's
of
busy with other things.
He's busy
too.
with other things, but that's kind of a fun fact. So anyway, but yeah, I've never had any problem personally with Project Wonderful. I think people abuse that system, and that's why it's gone.
That's a big part of why it's gone.
Right.
And there was one place in particular that abused the system, and we have many horror stories about that one place in particular, which we'll talk about in another podcast.
So anyway, back to Webtoons. So now that Webtoons has become basically the end-all be-all of webcomics now, because they had the money.
Because everybody built it up.
Everybody else built it up.
People worked and went there.
Everybody jumped ship and went to Webtoons.
You know, built Webtoons up to where it is.
Now we've got...
now we're just going to hand it over to the
we're handing it over
people.
to the print people who 10 years ago turned their nose up at webcomics.
4 years ago, turned their nose up
but
at
now
webcomics.
they have... Well, now because print comics are hurting,
yeah,
and there's no place
they
for
go
them
where
to
the money
go.
is.
They're going
So
where
like
they think the
like
money
someone
is.
said, like Locust, yeah, it's like Locust.
Yeah.
They descend upon Webtoons, and now all the deals are going to these people.
Yep.
All the people that are getting pitched for the IP, these people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the same people who already had a shot are getting the shot again. And that's why I'm mad. And we tried to talk. We've gone to the top of pretty much any other thing, and we had talked to people in charge. We actually, for Topostic, we were the ones that helped start their forums.
Yeah, we actually did.
We actually did. You know, we've gone to other places. They came to us. We made deals with them. We did work for them. We did stuff for oh, sure, my mind blank. Anime, manga.
Anime, manga.
The book. The printer.
Oh, Print Ninja.
Not Print Ninja.
No.
Well, actually, that's another story. Print
That's
Ninja. They started doing comics because of us. But the other one. Oh my gosh, we did promotion for them.
My mind is
Anime, manga. My mind's gone. Anyway, they hired us to help promote for stuff. So we usually have no problem going and talking to people in charge and actually bring us in. We could not get a hold of this guy at Webtoons for anything, no matter what we did.
Well, I mean, just to put it in perspective, like we talked to. I mean, I'm not trying to like. I
sounds like we're bragging.
I
We're
don't
not.
want to brag, but we talk to like Hollywood people all the time. We talk to publishers all the time. Like we
have an open door policy to most of the big publishers.
And the people we actually work for on occasion. You know, Webtoons is like totally locked down. Like you cannot get a hold of a human being at Webtoons unless you're part of like the in group. It's so
what was
freaking
it
weird.
called? Oh, you know, we did stuff with them with Josh and the manga publisher.
Tokyo Pop.
My mind blank. Tokyo Pop.
So
We did
Josh
stuff.
is
We
like,
did
okay.
stuff. We did stuff with Tokyo Pop.
Yeah, Tokyo Pop tried to start their own kind of competitor to Webtoons, and it just never really seemed to take off.
Yeah, we worked with them, and they actually paid us to come in and help them
yeah.
too. And it's like, so they bring us in as consultants a lot.
We've done podcasts on webcomics. We've been brought into, and again, this is I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to brag at all.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is because we could do all this other stuff, but we could never talk to somebody at Webtoons, no matter what we
have
did.
done anime conventions like all over the freaking country where they bring us in to talk about webcomics. And we do like a Webcomics 101.
The only reason I'm mentioning it is that reason.
Yeah, it's just so weird because like Webtoons is like locked down. It's
like you can't get hold of these people.
No, not unless you know somebody. Not unless you're in the right circle, which apparently we never were.
You know, the certain yeah. Now Daniel Corsetto, I would totally say deserves to be on.
I think Daniel Corsetto. I will admit, out of this list, Daniel Corsetto actually is a webcomics person. She has absolutely paid her dues over the years. I have no problem whatsoever.
No, I think she totally deserves
her being
to be there.
paid. I have no problem whatsoever with her being paid. Some of these people, though, I'm just like, I know, we're not going to name names, but I know some of the people on this list. I'm like, you people were like busting on webcomickers as being amateurs.
And even one of these people I know had a webcomic which didn't do jack crap, and she used to advertise on our site because she couldn't get followers. But that's another story. Anyway, but yeah, so I mean, what I'm mad about with Webtoons is that it was, a lot of people worked very, very hard to build it. And then after it was built and opportunities appeared, the opportunities are only going to certain people who were not the ones who built it in the first place, which is what I'm irritated about.
Yeah, because what's going on now basically is, I mean, they might on occasion bring somebody on as a paid artist, but it sounds like, especially with them pulling the plug on the Patreon revenue thing, that they're more or less going to take that money and give it to like established creators.
Right. So if your comics on
to pitch
there,
Hollywood ideas.
Yeah, if your comics on there and you're actually generating traffic and making them money, they're giving it to these people and letting them pitch ideas, but you don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I understand you can't let everybody have the opportunity. I totally get that. Sometimes you can't, and I get that.
Whoa,
but
her brains got blown out.
But what I'm saying is, if these people build it up, they should still have opportunity. It shouldn't just be handed to people who just showed up because I did this comic, I did that comic at Marvel, so I'm just automatically deserve a spot, and that's what I'm irritated about.
And I think we're going to see more of that. I think as print comics continue to decline, we're already seeing like Marvel people jumping ship to graphic novels or getting graphic novel deals. I think they're trying to get out
and some of these people, I don't understand how they're getting graphic novel deals.
Well
again,
for Marvel,
they're marketing to kids, and these people, one, I would not let kids buy those books, and two, they clearly don't know their audience. So, but same people keep getting in book deals, and then even if they don't earn out, they keep getting new book deals, and with book deals, it's very hard too, especially with the kids market. Everybody keeps saying, well, the kids market. I'm going to tell you right now, it's very difficult for a couple reasons. One, they only take a handful of books a year. Most publishers only do a few books a year, and they already have their pool they're picking from that already had book deals prior. Two, of those book deals a year, they only give you, unless you're someone that's like their bestseller or whatever, they're not going to give you much money, and they expect you to do nothing but work on their book for 2 years for like a pittance. I mean, it's like low.
Yeah. Now, when we did have an agent at one point, we were pitching a series at one point. I was told then that, I mean, this is like 4-ish years ago, 5 years ago, that first-time graphic novel artists would get like $15,000 to $25,000 for an advance. Over the course of 2 years, they break it up into chunks. The last time I heard Scholastic for a first-time graphic novel might only give you $5,000.
And that's for 2 years.
For like 2 years worth of work. Like, seriously?
Okay, so we have those two things. Then you have the fact that they took the New York Times bestsellers list and took graphic novels off as a separate category, which I don't disagree with personally. But they did that, and then now there's less incentive for publishers to do graphic novels because it used to be, it was easy to get ourselves on the New York Times bestseller because there's hardly anybody doing graphic novels. Well, now that that's gone, it's actually not as much of an incentive then to do them. So there are a lot of drawbacks. So these people have to go somewhere. Oh, I'm going to go do Webtoons. And I'm going to get paid for it to go do TV and movies.
And I think that's what's going on here. But anyways, now they're dangling the contest again to get people to create new content for the chance to possibly maybe make money. But really, we know that what's probably going to happen is established creators are going to come in and get.
But the people who win this will get a chance. So if you want to do this, by all means, do it.
Oh yeah.
We're not saying don't do webcomics at all because we do them ourselves. We have to start updating again, but we do them ourselves and we love them. And we're just not telling people to not do it. We want you to do it. We're just making sure you people understand exactly the truth about what you're doing so you don't get into it being like, because we used to get into it back when there was money and people would do things for like a month and be like, where's my money? It's like, it doesn't work that way.
Like, I mean, we actually did, disclaimer, we actually did webcomics and conventions and occasional Disney work. I mean, full time for a couple of years, and it's
used
hard.
To get like 1 million page views a month and stuff.
Oh yeah,
back
in the day
when
we
had
used
time.
to get like 1 million page views a month. Which, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but you break it down, and by the ad rates even back then, you're talking it's maybe like $1,200, maybe.
Yeah. So it's not what you think it is.
No.
And, I mean, by all means, do it. I just want to make sure people realize if you do it, don't quit your day job to do it.
Right.
Make sure you're doing something else at the same time. Because if you're expecting to have money, unless you win one of these contests, which you might.
I mean, but it's a very slim chance. So the thing is like, well, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I had nothing else to say.
No. I was.
No, I'm okay. Don't make me yell at you. No.
Okay.
Everybody's waiting for it. Here she comes. She's gonna start screaming.
People are just they're trying to find basically everybody in comics, whether it's web comics, digital comics, or graphic novels or print comics, they're all trying to find the money. And the truth, the brutally honest truth, is the money is getting harder and harder to find. It doesn't matter who you are.
It also doesn't help either that, 10 years ago, the amount of webcomics out there was small.
Oh, there are thousands
a
and
day
thousands and thousands.
start.
Like, God, I have no idea how many webcomics are on Tumblr.
There are thousands a day start every day, and the competition is much harder. I can't imagine trying to start your own site and trying to get ahead today, especially with Project Wonderful gone too.
I would never tell. Can you draw something right now? I actually thought about doing. I actually have a couple of live streams of drawing on the channel. If you look back, I was thinking.
Have the iPad hooked up.
No, I don't have the iPad hooked up. I actually thought about doing trying to do some live stream drawings, which I might do in the future. We're just trying to figure out like what the channel is. I think we do want to do more art videos, not just like rant.
He
all the
probably
time.
will draw.
Yeah, I will.
Now, actually, we're not gonna probably videos for a couple of days again because
I got travel again.
He just got told yesterday he has to go someplace else again for 3 days.
Well, okay, so people are talking about Marvel Comics. I can tell you a lot of the people working at Marvel Comics right now got their start in webcomics. A lot of the people working at Marvel, they came from webcomics. Well, actually, they came from Tumblr. Tumblr was sort of the I think the second generation.
That's why Tumblr baby.
Yeah, I think Tumblr was kind of the second generation of webcomics. The first generation of webcomics artists were actually, most of them were diehard capitalists because they had to be. They had to be a merciless business people.
We were pre-Tumblr, I think.
Yeah, we were pre-Tumblr, definitely. Then the second wave of artists that came in, they didn't have to run their own site. They just went right to Tumblr and posted stuff. And instead of like getting actual cash, because they didn't have to pay hosting or anything like that, instead of getting actual cash, they became addicted to getting upvotes and reblogs and whatever. And a lot of those,
their currency.
That was their currency, was that dopamine hit, I guess, of which is fine, but it doesn't pay the rent. So I think what happened at that point was a lot of the Tumblr artists got picked up by Marvel. I can actually name. I'm not gonna name names, but I know of at least a dozen people who were actually doing Tumblr comics first. And some of the names, like I said, Ryan North, who ran Project Wonderful, he did a comic called Dinosaur Comics for years, and then now he is or was, I guess they canceled it, Squirrel Girl. He was doing Squirrel Girl for Marvel. He'd done some other stuff for them. So I think part of the reason Project Wonderful, like Geeky said,
I know a lot
is
of people who had webcomics early on too went on to book deals and things.
Graphic novels, yeah. A lot of the people
some
working
on TV.
A lot of people working in webcomics moved on to graphic novels. They moved on to animation. She-Ra, Noelle Stevenson, she had a webcomic.
Well,
she was
that's
on Tumblr.
questionable. But
that's a whole nother rant. But yeah, I mean, as far as the demanding jobs, that is, this is really interesting. This is an attitude that we've seen, and this has only been a pretty recent thing where a lot of kids that are fresh out of art school think that because they have that art school degree that they are owed. Now, Geeky actually is a certified art teacher.
I am.
She is an art teacher.
I do art too, just I just do different art than you do.
But these kids, their attitude now is, I went to, well, we'll throw one out, SCAD. We get a lot of kids from SCAD. We went to SCAD. I am owed a job because I went to SCAD. We actually went through a couple of colorists on our comic that
and we were paying,
and we were paying like IDW rates. We were actually
we were paying fair rates, and they did not always follow through on their work. Sometimes they disappear for weeks on end. Sometimes they would say that they can't because of a headache and then post all kinds of fan art.
Yeah, we had one that she's actually working in comics now, and she's very, very good. She's very good. So I'm not going to knock her work at all, but
her ethic maybe, but not her work.
But like, she would disappear for weeks at a time and be like, "Oh, I'm sick, I can't work," and then you would like check her Twitter, and she was posting like all kinds of Steven Universe fan art, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, you're not getting paid for that. Like, we're actually paying you, and you're not.
She used our name to get herself into some company.
No, that's a whole other thing. But we actually had conversation. We had 2 or 3 different colorists, and they were like fresh out of school, and they were like, I don't want to work retail, and I'm like, but I'm also like, realistically, with the comic book industry being the way that it is right now, you're not going to be able to work in comics full time.
I don't know how Comic Fairy, Junk Duck, and Smack Jeeves stays around either. I have no idea.
I think they're on autopilot. I honestly think I don't understand it either, because they're not getting enough traffic. I mean, honestly, like Smack Jeeves gets as much traffic as like the entire site gets less traffic than like questionable content.
Yeah. So I don't know either, but yeah. So the one thing I tell people, and I've got people. They don't understand that honesty and negativity are not the same thing. And I know one case, this one person, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna quit my job, and I'm just gonna move this one place, and it's gonna be artist full time. Do you have an offer for a job?" No. But I know I can do it. My friends say I can do it. My mom.
Yeah, they all want to move to LA and go. Yeah.
And I said to her, I was trying to be nice, and I'm like, okay, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I would make sure that you had. I know you don't like working retail. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do that. I would, build up your thing first. Wait till you're able to do it on your own, or build up to go to a different job that's out of retail. I can't speak. And then do it. Oh my gosh, I was a jerk, and what the heck? This person did what she wanted to anyway, and she ended up in trouble. Big time trouble. And she didn't know what she was going to do and everything else. And I'm like...
Then she set up a GoFundMe to pay her living expenses because she quit life to go do comics because she thought she was entitled to do comics and animation and art.
We're not saying don't do it. Don't do art and comics. Definitely do it. Just understand the reality of the situation. Don't get yourself into trouble. We had to go full on... full time. We didn't have a choice.
We actually, it
wouldn't have been something we chose to do.
Yeah, we're not going to bore you with the story, but how we got into comics full time. And it was only a couple of years that we did comics full time. And it wasn't by choice because I actually had a really good marketing job. I was working in marketing for a manufacturing firm, and I got laid off, and we were already doing the art stuff. It was already making a little money.
Butts.
And the comics saved our
And we live in a place that's not very high cost of living, so that helps too.
Yeah, so we actually... were able to jump over to comics and do more comics work. And it did. Honestly, the comic actually saved us, which Well, actually, in our case, and I'm not gonna say we're the norm because we're not. We're not.
We had so many connections with other things that we were able to leverage what we had and the platform we had into other things. But we had a platform. That's a difference. We don't have much of a platform now because we went to other things and don't do it very much. We need to get back to it.
Pay.
I absolutely love this story, and it means so much to me.
I know.
And I have it written farther ahead, and it's going to get so fun. I am so proud of the story.
We're still trying to get, and this is, us doing this for so long, we're still trying to get to the point where we're like, how do we, we get this to turn a profit now? Because, we're like, okay, so we'll publish it as books or floppies or whatever. Well, that market is imploding. We'll put it online and make money off of ad revenue. Nope, that's really hard now to do too. So
actually, in this case, though, we actually do have an agent who wants this as a prose book. So I have to actually get that turned into a prose book. So we're waiting. We might go that way with it because somebody actually is interested in it right now.
Thank you. I love. Okay, Frost Kuji. For all those out there trading. No, there goes the truck. A trade in construction will help make a lot of money at once and take a layoff for a few months to work on art.
Yeah, we have a friend who does that.
Yeah, we do. We actually have a really good friend of ours, Jason, who does that. He works on his comics
He's off
from
for like 3 months or something.
November through February.
Yeah.
And he makes decent money. And honestly, any kind of trade, I think, is great because a lot of times those are like union jobs, and you're not going to work a lot of overtime.
And a lot of people, it sucks sometimes. You want to do your stuff all the time. We get it. We've been there. But not having money and always worried if you're going to lose your place you live, and we had kids, which is
Yeah, we had mortgage and kids. Like we are in a totally different place than most cartoonists, and this isn't to be like a judgment call on other but most cartoonists now, just because of the economics, they're usually child free, they're usually younger. They usually rent, and that's because the economics of the comic book industry right now, very few people can actually afford what I would consider like a quote unquote normal.
Yeah, we only got the house that we had because it was the
because
other
I had a day job.
But I was gonna say too about people get upset too with comics. I'm gonna mention this too. People are always comparing themselves to other people, in webcomics especially, and they're hearing that so and so does this full time, and this person does it full time, and they do it full time. And
the cake is a lie.
Yes, and I'm gonna tell you why right now. Because what they're not looking at is some of these people that do it full time. Yes, they do. But what they're failing to mention is they might do it full time, but their wife is a nurse. Or their husband is a venture capitalist, which we know 2 cases of those. And other things that they are paying the bills. So are they doing it full time? Yes. But is it paying their bills and they're living on it full time? No. So people are misled, and then people are like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. And it gets people in trouble.
Yeah, there are so many people out there that are making comics full time. They are not actually making.
They technically are making it doing it full time.
Sustainable livings. They have spouses or significant others that are keeping them. And we know several people, and I'm not going to name names, but we've actually been on panels with them, and they bragged about the fact that they had, a wealthy husband or a wife.
Is that the
working as
person
an
that also said to go hang out at the bars with the Marvel and DC editors and flirt with them and suck up to them and give them drinks so they give you jobs? And they did.
Well, it's apparently worked for her because her career's taking off.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, there are people out there that, they're married to a doctor or lawyer or something. I mean, yeah, so you can just kind of play around with comics. What are the problems with online ad revenue? The problems...
where do we begin?
Well, webcomics is very hard to monetize a webcomic because there's not a lot of text on the page usually, and Google bases its ads on the keywords.
Well, that's part of it. Then they've had such bad experience with people.
Click fraud.
But in the past, there's been a lot of click fraud associated with comics. So immediately, if you're a comic, you're going to have a lower ad rate than a blog or something. And we know this for a fact because we've done both. And there's definitely a difference.
Yeah.
So you definitely get a lower rate on the comic than the... and then now there's ad blockers that are getting more and more advanced.
So,
and there's a lot of reasons.
And like Patreon is cool. And there are some people, and now I'm not trying to say that like it's not going to make money, because there are people actually making pretty decent money. Just doing their comic. A lot of times they're selling comics too through crowdfunding or whatever. So they're selling a physical product. They have merchandise. They do. It's a hard life.
Okay, Patreon. Let's talk about Patreon. The problem with Patreon is,
unless you make porn.
I was gonna say, if you make porn,
you're fine.
But if you're somebody who's been on there a while and had a lot of audience building already, you probably would do okay. We've run into this a couple times with people. They've told us their stories, or people have said to us, there's 10, 20 different comics I read, and I'm going to give $1 to 2 or 3 of them, and I'm going to give $1 to 2 or 3 that are my favorite. And so again, just like it did before they had Patreon, the biggest comics that are probably the most popular are the ones that get all the money.
Well, because they've got the audiences that they've cultivated.
A lot of them drop porn too, which, helps their case.
And they've been out there for like 15 years. I mean, you look at like Saturday morning breakfast cereal. I mean, I think he's getting like, I haven't checked his numbers lately, but I think he was getting like $6,000 or $7,000 a month just on Patreon, not counting his crowdfunding, not counting his merchandise sales. I think he has a book deal now. So he's been successful there. But yeah, somebody just starting out, just making a comic and saying, hey, I'm going to throw this out on the internet, you're going to have a really hard time because you're competing with people who already have platforms.
Yeah, we're talking about comics too. We're not talking about like people who are doing YouTube or
just strictly comics.
Or like fan art. Because there's some fan art people out there doing really well. And some of them, I don't know why Disney isn't shutting them down, because we work with Disney and they normally would kick your ass for that. But that's another story.
Back in the day, Project Wonderful was active. Homestuck's ads sold for 100. They've gone over 100. Actually,
yeah, we used to do it back in the day when it was big.
We got into a bidding war. I'll say
okay,
it.
that what killed Project Wonderful?
You're gonna go ahead. Hiveworks killed Project Wonderful.
We'll tell you all about Hiveworks. That we have lots of stories about.
I'll say it now because it's already a done deal. Project Wonderful's already gone. Hiveworks.
I wouldn't blame everybody. The person who started Hiveworks. We'll just blame that person.
And this is years ago, so whatever. Anyway,
he has tried to cause us so much trouble.
We told
him no.
We did. We told him no, and he dogged us all over. It's ridiculous. So we actually got into a bidding war with him, and questionable content drove questionable content up to $999 on Project Wonderful. He took a screenshot of it and went to Tumblr.
Yeah. So basically, to explain,
he's the one who drove it up.
Right. Here's the thing. So if you want to be the high bid on something, sometimes you'd have to bid $700 for an ad spot. Now, granted, you weren't paying $700 for the whole day. You might only run it 20 minutes, but you might spend $50-$60 easy for 20 minutes. Well, one time we had a bunch of money in Project Wonderful, and you were going to run it on...
Back when I had a day job that paid well,
you were going to run it. He was going to run it on questionable content.
Yes.
And he did, and he bid it up to like $999 because you couldn't go higher than $1,000 because that way he was guaranteed to have the ad spot for while he had time. Well, he left and came back, and all the money was gone. He's like, what happened? Well, it turned out...
Hundreds of dollars, we're talking.
This is when the Project Wonderful problem started.
This is where
it turned out that this person's method on dealing with people was that he would deliberately drive you up to right below your bid, find out what your bid was, go right below it to try to run you out of money, which is against policy on Project Wonderful.
Yeah, it's considered shill bidding.
Because everybody else on Project Wonderful would be like, oh, they're bidding 30, I only want to bid 20. Okay, I'm not going to go right now. I'll just bid 20. When they're done, I'll take it. And it was just pretty much courteous, and everybody was pretty nice about it. Well, he took a screenshot and then went to, where'd he go to with it?
Tumblr
with it.
Which he hated. He always trash talked Tumblr.
And then he said that look at these people running up Project Wonderful, and he's the one who ran it up.
He ran the bid up. Because, so...
But then he proceeded to keep doing this to everyone.
What happened was, once he figured out he could do that, that you basically, if somebody bid $100 and you ran them up to $99, that they burned through their money faster. Hiveworks, the comics that they did not take into... the comics that they did not take into their collective, because they went around and poached.
They really poached the big ones.
They poached all the big ones. Girl Genius, Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal.
And I will say this because it's the truth. They also would follow what we bid on, and then they would take it. Like, no matter what we bid on, here they come. And we found out later that the person that was their person in charge of web stuff was the person who was in charge of the web stuff on this platform we were at, and they were giving them our information.
Hiveworks webmaster was also KeenSpot's webmaster. They had our access to our Google Analytics.
So even when we hit our
they
analytics,
knew exactly
they
where
still,
we were bidding.
if we would bid on someplace, even find someplace new, and we'd be there by ourselves, we didn't have to go against him. Here he'd show up, and he kept doing it. And it kept happening, and it turned out that she was giving him where we were at, and he was, so this guy, he came at us like you won't believe.
Yeah, so Hiveworks basically had access to our analytics through KeenSpot.
Which KeenSpot didn't know.
Which KeenSpot did not know.
But anyway, long story short, he kept doing this to a lot of people. It wasn't just us. It was a lot of people. And that's what happened with show bidding, which then that's when we ended up talking to Project Wonderful.
Right. He basically burned everybody. They went in big. They would spend thousands of dollars a month on ad campaigns for their comics, and they would run everybody out of money to knock the competition out. And then, so pretty much the only option people had if they wanted to survive as an independent website was to go to Hiveworks, but
or pay him like $200
like protection money.
It was really expensive. It was like ridiculously expensive because he'd go get these people. He tried to get us. We said no. And then that's what set him off.
That's what set him off. If we had said yes, it would be a totally different story right now.
So this guy went out. It's going to take too long to talk about it. He did all kinds of stuff. They had meetings dedicated to how to bring us down, and that's the truth.
We know because these are from
people that are at Hiveworks who told us. Yeah. And it was a big thing. But anyway, why it hurt Project Wonderful? Because he kept doing this and he kept shill bidding everyone. And then everybody else started doing it to everybody else because they thought, well, the only way I'm going to be able to compete is if I do that. So what people would do was, if I was bidding $30 on something, they would come, find out what my bid was at $30, go down to $29.90 to run my money out, and then they can get it for cheap. So everybody started doing it to everybody else because of it. Well, Project Wonderful finally caught on, and then they contacted us.
I had like a 2-hour conversation with them.
And they knew it was, they knew. They said they heard of this from several people.
Yeah, they did. They actually refunded us a bunch of money.
They told us it was them.
So basically what happened was, the people that Hiveworks couldn't poach, the websites they couldn't poach, and when they went to Hiveworks, they had to take Project Wonderful off their page.
That was one of the, they had to. Now, they are allowed to have it now, but they had to take it down at the time. And so anyway, who they couldn't take, which was the bigger sites, they turned around and just shill bid everybody.
Yeah, so they came in and they ran everybody out of business, and Project Wonderful suffered for it. Now again, I think Ryan North might have just wanted to move on to other things, but there's no money. People stopped using Project Wonderful.
They were banned from Project Wonderful for a while.
I think they were. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they were.
But they stopped using Project Wonderful because all the high traffic sites stopped using Project Wonderful because either they got fed up with it or they were already part of Hiveworks. A lot of people who were starting new comics were going right to Webtoons and Tapastic and not even bothering with private sites or self-hosted sites.
I'm not blaming everybody at Hiveworks. I'm only blaming one person at Hiveworks. I mean, there's a lot of people at Hiveworks we know that are nice people, and I'm not blaming all them. I'm blaming the one person in particular because he was a tool. But everybody else is okay.
Yeah. But I mean, that's personally what I think happened. But it just Project Wonderful hasn't been viable.
Well, they kind of told us that was what happened. So that was
Geeky's rant for today.
I mean, there was meetings dedicated to how to take us down. We got on Wikipedia, and they tried to get us pulled from Wikipedia, and then we ended up getting protected on Wikipedia. And there was a whole mess of stuff. It would take me hours to talk about everything.
We had the Disney connection, so we got it's ridiculous. I mean,
they went after us full on for like years.
Ridiculous crap, petty crap that went on with the webcomics behind the scenes that pretty much led to its demise. I think a bunch of people.
I think a lot of people are just sick of it, and that's why you go to Webtoons now. It sucks that you can't get anywhere on Webtoons now because of the publishing people. But the flip side is it's more equalized now. I mean,
Webtoons. I mean, they have I will say they have a really good platform. They were able to do what needed to be done like 10 or 15 years ago, which is basically centralize webcomics like YouTube centralized video. And they did it very successfully. They had the money to do it. The only disadvantage again now is they are paying paying Marvel people, paying IDW people to create stuff instead of pulling from
on YouTube. It's still based on merit,
right?
Yeah,
well, kind of.
Well, yeah,
even YouTube now, or different different collectives are paying certain like celebrity YouTubers for shows and whatever. Twitch is hiring away some folks from like Polaris to do so that's kind of the same kind of a thing, but it's just weird that like the people that turn their nose up to webcomics are getting to walk in now because of the Marvel connection.
It's basically what it is like you build up a company and you do all the work, and and then people just waltz in and take over, and that's what's kind of going on with Webtoons, and that's why I'm a little irritated right now with Webtoons.
So where I mean, I guess my thing is like where do webcomics go now? I don't know. I really don't know, because I don't think it's viable. Personally, I don't think it's viable to even bother starting your own site to host your webcomic on now, because you can't promote it really unless you spend thousands of dollars on.
There's other places to promote it, but it's going to cost.
It's going to cost you a lot more. Project Wonderful was probably the best solution for webcomics, and it's gone. And there's nothing that's comparable out there.
I mean, Patreon, people are doing Patreon, but like I said, keep in mind, you do webcomic, there's thousands more webcomics on there, and people will flat out tell you, I read you and a dozen other people, so I'm going to give it to my two favorites, and you're not one of them. And, so you might get some people who'll back you on Patreon, but a lot of people won't. And there are places to advertise, but I think mostly now it's more of a labor of love, unless you can get like a deal or a book deal or IP deal or something.
Yeah, I think what's going on is
a Kickstarter or crowdfunding.
Yeah, I think Comic Rocket, I think shut down too. The worst webcomic I've ever read.
Top Webcomics is still there.
Yeah, Top Webcomics got sold
there,
though.
But I was we got in trouble on that one too, Bets.
We actually
busted them for cheating.
We figured out how people were cheating Top Webcomics. They're buying rotating proxies and using bots, and we figured out how they were doing it, because we're like, some of these comics that were in the top 10, I'm like, I've never freaking heard of this.
They have more votes in a day than they have hits on their page views.
Because Project Wonderful, you could track page views.
Well, back in the day, Top Webcomics 2 only allowed an image for the top 10. So people always wanted the spot for the top 10, so you had an image up because that was the spot that counted. It's not so much that the case now. They figured out let's not do that. But back in the day, people would definitely cheat their numbers and votes to get up there.
Cat C. Thomas, is that how? Yeah, the same 4 or 5 people were all.
Yes, that's exactly how. And here's what we did.
Figured out how they did it.
Here's what we did.
Because we did it.
So we did it for a month.
We did it for a month to see if that was what they were doing.
And then we wrote an expose article on it, which you took down. You should have left it up.
It's called. It might still be out there. I think it's on the archive. It's called The Elephant in the Room. Top Webcomics, The Elephant in the Room. We wrote it like 7 or 8 years ago. And we basically told everybody how to cheat Top Webcomics.
So we thought it would make people be like, oh, it's cheated, that's crap. And instead, all it did was taught everybody else how to cheat. So everybody was cheating on each other, and they were cheating against each other, and it just was one giant cheat fest. It became a worse cheat fest than before we did the articles. We took it down because like all we did was teach them how to cheat, and now they're just cheating worse.
Yeah, and it did. It was so ridiculous. It was just like the cheat, and then you'd see people, they like try to like space it out, like, well, I just did 1,000 votes. Okay, and then somebody would beat them, and then like another 1,000 votes would magically
suddenly appear. It was so funny.
Freaking, it was like, God, it was
it's not sad. Like that now, I don't think. I mean, there are some people, I do think, I still will say, I think some people are seeding their votes. But, especially if, like I said, if you go in their Alexa's really terrible, or if they have like more votes in a day than they possibly had hits on their site, then they're cheating.
If they're getting like 5,000 votes in a day and they only get like 300 hits on their webcomic in a day, then
something's up. But also, it's not fair to people who advertise on there, because you're paying money, and it goes by it would go by how many times your ad would come up on the site. Well, if people were using bots, every time the bot would go through, it would showcase your ad, and you'd burn through your ads like really fast, and no one actually would come to your site because
that was a huge problem.
No one was coming to your site because they weren't actually people looking at the ads. They were just bots.
Most of the traffic on Top Webcomics, honestly, I would say like 75% of the traffic were actually bots.
Back then, I don't think it's so much that now.
I don't think so now. I think they put some
safeguards in place.
In there, but you don't get the traffic, because we actually did pay a year or two ago. We paid because they changed hands. The guy sold Top Webcomics to another company, and so we paid for advertising to see what happened, and we really didn't get a whole lot of
No, and it was basically because the bots are burning through your ad
Yeah.
revenue. So you're paying them like $45-$50 for this ad, and you're guaranteed like 1,000, 2,000 hits, and you might get like a quarter of that as real people, and the rest were bots. So it was a problem.
Oh no, we're not trying to depress people. People are like all depressed.
No,
Like, I was depressed by people.
every day's a war with me. People, don't you know this?
Oh, we're not trying to
I
depress
didn't even
everybody.
start
We're
about
trying to
new
be
stuff I'm mad about today.
yeah, we're trying to be realistic. I mean, here's the thing.
No, I tell people to keep doing it. Just go in eyes wide open.
Yeah, the comic book industry is tanking. I mean, it is, and it's not just paper comics. Web comics are tanking too. And really, it comes down to very few people are actually going to be able to make a living doing this. If you can find a new way to make a living, that's fantastic. But you're going to have to stay a step ahead.
I think there is hope. Because I don't think you need those agents and gatekeepers anymore.
No.
Like it used to be, you always had the gatekeeper. I don't think you need those anymore. I think if you get your own stuff done and you go to places like,
Indiegogo's really taken off.
Yeah,
right
like
now.
any of the crowdfunding places. If you go to you get yourself up on Amazon, if you get yourself up on, Comixology and places like that, I think you still can come out ahead and you still can, get an audience. And I think you still can make money. So it's not all doom and gloom. I think there's ways around it.
No, and I guess that's where this kind of comes into the indie comics end of things.
We're going to get to that eventually.
Yeah, we're going to get to it eventually. Just saying, this is a sad state of comics, is a sad state of webcomics.
Yeah.
But the people who are actually going to make money in comics, and there are people actually from webcomics that are making good money, printing their own comics, is basically indie comics.
Which is why we said indie in the title.
Right. You may be able to use like a Marvel or a DC if you can break in to get yourself, get a foot in the door, and build a platform that way and get people familiar with their work. But really where if you're going to make any real money in comics these days, it's going to be doing your own stuff and finding an audience that will pay you for your work. Just throwing stuff out on the internet for free endlessly for years, hoping somebody will throw some pennies into the top hat, doesn't usually work. So you need to find.
Hot Topic has some good Disney stuff. I like Hot Topic. They have some cool stuff. Even though Tom refers to that as mass-produced individuality.
Hot Topic.
Mass-produced individuality.
Dye my hair black and brush it over my eyes and go shopping at Hot Topic.
You used to dye your hair purple.
Oh my God, we made everybody. Yeah, when I had more hair.
Yeah, see, this is why everybody gets mad at us. When we start telling the truth, they're like, "You're being negative," and we're not being negative. We're just telling you what you're up against. No, but I'm just saying the whole idea of the gatekeeper is not the case anymore. So the one upside of everything is you do not have to worry about going through these people. You do not need them to tell you permission. You can just say, screw you, I'm doing it anyway, and go do it anyway. We do that all the time.
Yeah, why are people freaking out so much about people like Diversity in Comics and Ethan Van Sciver bypassing the gatekeepers and making hundreds of thousands of dollars? They're proving you can. And that throws a wrench into the system because it used to be you had to go through the gatekeepers, and even the gatekeepers are moving into webcomics now with Webtoons. And
they're trying.
They're trying to.
But they're too little, too late. They cannot stop you. So the good news is that you don't have to go through gatekeepers. And if someone tells you no, you say screw you, and you do it anyway.
Yeah, pretty much, and you find a way to do it because there are people out there who will buy comics. You just need to connect with the right people. But going through the old school way of doing it, of just getting your job at Marvel. I mean, Marvel's page rates are so low. IDW's page rates are ghetto. Like, why? I mean, you're basically, other than to
Well,
no one's trying to gatekeep EVS or RCM. No, they're mad. I think they are mad because they sidestepped the gatekeepers.
Well, I know they got mad at that one book that they didn't go through. They basically did the same thing the publishers did and got themselves ahead on the bestseller list, and then they tried to complain about them and get them removed. But they did the same thing that the other publishers do to cheat. You don't need them anymore. And the thing is, it's like what we always say: you go into a room, if they shut the door, then you go through the window, and if they shut the window, you get out your sledgehammer and you make your own damn door, and you do it anyway. And that's what we do all the time.
And really, I mean, I know. There are no gatekeepers. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Well, there are people who would like to be gatekeepers.
I'm talking about publishing. There were. You had to go through agents. Yeah, there are through agents and stuff. And all that.
To get into like Scholastic and stuff like that, you have to know the right people. Even Marvel, they tried to set themselves up as gatekeepers. Like, you have to have the right politics. EVS are the last to discover crowdfunding. That is okay. I know.
This
is true. Okay,
we've talked about this a few times.
Porkins, you're a very, very smart person. Yes. Here's the thing. Like, I'm using this example because I think we have some people that came over here from Diversity in Comics and EVS. Webcomics people have been doing the crowdfunding thing for at least 10 years now.
And they've gotten some of the highest crowdfunded.
They've got $500,000, $1 million. Actually, I think the highest funded comic, I think, is still The Order of the Stick, which had like $1.2 million. And it was a stick figure comic.
So, I mean, yeah, they've been doing it for years, and they've been getting a lot of money for years. It's just, yeah, I thought that was funny. They're like, wow, he did it. I'm like, no, this is not new, but we didn't want to, like, rain on that parade, so we didn't say anything.
But so weird, like, you don't hear about the people who actually do really well and sort of exist outside of the comic book establishment. You don't really hear much about. They're sort of, like, ignored, I think, by proper comics publishers.
Well,
like,
that's just an outlier.
Yeah, it's just an outlier. With, you know, like Diversity in Comics and Ethan Sciver. Well, Van Sciver worked, you know, for DC, so he was a mainstream guy. And, you know, Diversity in Comics has been very critical of the industry and
but
the
gatekeepers.
But
they also have huge YouTube presences,
right,
too.
So they have a platform.
They had a platform. Platform is key to any crowdfunding. Whether it be Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Patreon, whatever. Platform is key. And you can get these, you can build platforms on these places, and you're not going to get paid yet, but you can cash in later. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you can build your platform up, get all these followers, and cash in later when you go to do a crowdfunding or something like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened with webcomics people, where they gave it away for free for years, and then when they went to publish a book, people were like, here, take my money because I love your, you know. And sometimes they would do it. They weren't even really interested in the book per se. They were just interested in supporting those artists because they've been getting something for free for so long. Same with Patreon. It was the same thing. It was kind of like, you know, we're going to give these people money because they've been giving us something for free for so long. And that's cool. And I don't know if people still feel that way, though. I am kind of wondering, because it seems like a lot of younger readers are sort of like, everything on the internet is free.
Yeah.
You know, give me more free
favors.
stuff.
A lot of people who started out even say now they wish to God they hadn't done it that way, because it was all ad revenue then and you could do it, but they set themselves up for failure later on. You know, hindsight's 2020.
I quit my job to make webcomics, and in 5 years I might make $1,000 in a month.
Well, now, but I mean back then, people were making like $3,000-$4,000.
There were people making $3,000 or $4,000. There were people making more than that. There were people making like freaking.
I was meaning the
ridiculous
average.
money. Yeah.
So anyway, guys, sorry, we're not trying to bring people down. We're saying
the light at the end of the tunnel is
understand how it's working and make sure you don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and you can free yourself into poverty very easily. That's something that I think a lot of young artists have to understand. Now, I'm not saying go out there and be like, oh, I have to get paid top dollar for everything I do, but
including
also
tryouts.
Yeah, which that's a whole other thing. But also be aware that if you get a reputation for giving out free stuff, or you cultivate an audience of freeloaders, chances are you're going to have a hard time getting them to pay for your stuff down the road. So you want basically 100 people who will buy your comics are worth more than 100,000 people who just want something for free.
Right.
And that's the truth.
Yeah. So, and like I said, definitely check out Webtoons. I mean, understanding that you're not going to make money probably doing it, but you could build a platform which you could leverage other places. We took our platform numbers, and that's how we leveraged ourselves into all kinds of things.
Yeah.
We might not have got anything, you know, right away from that, but we used it to get to other things, to get to other things, to get to other things.
Yeah, I mean, so now we do stuff completely unrelated to comics, but still kind of related to comics.
But we got there because we did comics.
Paid for it. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's just comics are changing. Comics are changing, and I think that's really.
Oh yeah, Napster and LimeWire.
Oh my God, Napster.
I remember Napster.
Napster.
Yeah, we remember that too.
All the music's free.
Yeah, I remember Napster.
Now they call it Spotify, and you just pay for it and you get all the music you want. But no, it's gonna be interesting to see where comics goes. I mean, I think digital comics definitely are going to be the future, but it's just, you know, monetizing them is still very, very hard.
Yeah, the old business model is done, and now you have to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, and comic shops. I mean, comic shops are closing left and right. So where are you going to sell your comics? You're going to have to sell directly through like Amazon or conventions or whatever.
Which you can do. Which you can
do, yeah.
But anyway, now you made everybody depressed. That's my job. I'm usually the one who makes everybody depressed.
I'm not trying to make anybody depressed.
I'm sure I did my part of depressing people.
No, I'm just trying to point out,
I wasn't yelling though today. Well, I wasn't.
Well, just saying that, like, look, if you think you're going to go start a website and throw your comics up on the website and people are going to give you a ton of money, chances are it's not going to happen, and it's going to be even harder now that Project Wonderful is
not just Project
closed.
Wonderful. There's so much competition. It's so much harder now in general.
Why not make a Spotify for webcomics? Oh, there's so much I want to say and I can't yet.
Oh, yeah. Just wait.
Let's just say we know some people. There's some stuff coming, and there might be a sequel to this video.
There's some stuff
some
coming, yes.
There's
we can't talk about it, though. We have a lot of NDAs and things, and we can't talk about things. So that's a good thing about like working with these people. You know, they kind of call us in to, you know, help them out with stuff. But the bad stuff is we can't talk about it. So, you know.
Fan relations consultant.
There you go. Fan relations consultant.
You know, yeah. So there's some stuff coming down the road.
So just wait. There might be something.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks everybody tuning in. Again, this is sorry it wasn't ranty like you probably are used to, but
I don't know. I got pretty fired up about certain people that tried to cause us a lot of trouble.
We do want to talk. We do want to talk about some other stuff besides just constantly bashing on pop culture.
Yeah, we had to choose. We're gonna do the webcomics one today, or we're gonna go talk about the Starfire issue. But we decided to go with webcomics today.
Yeah, Neon Waves Black are saying the end of comics is nigh. I'm
not trying to press anyone.
Oh,
thank you.
You didn't have to give us money, but thank you. Answer my question, thanks. Yeah.
Well, if anybody has questions, send them over. We'll try to do what we can do.
Shout out at clownfishtv.com is our email. We'll try to do what we can do. We travel a lot. In fact, I'm basically here for a couple days between LA and Florida. So
I'll still be here.
Yeah,
but...
Geeky will be here, but and I can just kick questions over to her. But yeah, Obo 299, thank you so much for the super chat. Did not have to do that. That's not why we're doing the videos.
We just want to help people.
We just want to help people, especially young artists, because we've been there. I
had to explain to somebody today too, they were immediately going on the rampage about the She-Ra. I'm only gonna mention one thing about She-Ra, about the She-Ra thing, and they were going on the rampage about all the toxic male fans and everything else, and I had to actually tell them, it's like, look, it's not all men. It's actually, if you look, mostly women who are upset about it. And there's a double standard, and people are marginal. If you're a girl, who disagrees, you are marginalized. You're not even looked at. You're not even listened to because you don't fit the narrative. And when I said that and I explained it, they actually are like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that, but you're right. And I was like, knock me over the feather.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing. If people actually sit down and talk. People actually sit down and talk. Starfire.
Well, some people assumed I was before.
Yeah.
Stop assuming my gender.
Starfire. I don't know. I can say Starfire in a nutshell. I think, and I tweeted it publicly, and I don't care.
I actually told you before.
I think the Mary Sue is incredibly hypocritical. I can't believe that they're like Black Buffy is no good, but Black Starfire. If you don't like Black Starfire, you're racist.
But I think most people didn't like the Black Starfire, not because she was
black, but because costume was horrible.
Yeah,
it's horrible. Like
that's
you
what people were mad about.
Literally pick any Starfire cosplayer. Of any race, of any ethnicity, and she would look better than the trash that they put the poor actress in for and try to pass her off as Starfire. Yeah,
it's not. I mean, again, it's like I said with Kelly Marie Tran. It's not her fault that Rose, wasn't great. But she was doing her job. In the same case here, this woman's doing her job. But what are they thinking on that? I don't even know. But of course, because people don't like it, they're immediately racist.
That's the go-to for everything.
But it's okay to be racist about Buffy, but you're not allowed to be racist. Yeah, that's what he kept saying. She looked like a hooker.
That was the first thing I thought was like, I don't know how old everybody here is, but if you remember, was it Divine Brown, the prostitute that was with Eddie Murphy? I swear to God, Starfire looked just like her.
And people were mad about that, and rightfully so. And they're taking it and turning it into, Netflix taking off thumbs down.
Netflix is taking off thumbs up and thumbs down.
I'm sure they are.
Oh my God.
I'm sure they are. Like I said, this one person immediately was going to get in. Anybody. He shared a comic that someone made about making fun of man babies, and that I'm so tired of these toxic males. And I actually said, hey, I don't like it. And if you actually look into it, it's mostly women who don't like it, not men. But that doesn't fit the narrative of blaming everything on men.
Facebook hasn't updated. They haven't updated their She-Ra page since they dropped the pictures, and a bunch of women responded and said that they didn't like it. I mean,
he backed down, probably because he's not allowed to argue with me because I'm a woman. No, I'm kidding. Doesn't stop you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's nuts how the mental acrobatics of these play. I mean, honestly, I think it's gotten a point now where the pop culture news sites mean absolutely nothing. I think the reason people are going to YouTube,
if you're using news loosely, because they usually get real information, not just biased.
Right.
We disregard a whole swath of people because it doesn't fit. They're talking about marginalized women. That they're marginalizing women like constantly to meet their narrative of it's all babies.
Yeah, it's basically a story because that's the deflection is it's all all.
She didn't look Divine Brown, but no. But my point is, most people were mad about it because
the costume, not
the costume,
and even
then they
Raven
took it
and
as
Beast
it's
Boy.
A racist thing. It's like
Raven and Beast Boy were terrible too. They all look like a bunch of really bad cosplayers. Like they just rolled out of bed and said, "Hey, let's go to Comic-Con today. Just go grab that wig, and I'll just dye my hair. I'll go to Walmart and spend $10, for some, and that's how we're gonna roll." But then they spent a bunch of money on Robin's costume,
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, but it just we're trying not to be we're not trying to be bad about it today, but I had to get in it with somebody today.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a question: why are writers and creators in comics and related media so tone deaf?
I have no idea. I think it's the
who they hang with.
Well, I think that, and I think where how they grew up. I think if they're younger and they mostly grew up on the computer and social media, where it's all anonymous and you can say whatever the hell you want, and it's always your viewpoint. And it's very self-centered. It's all about you and self. I think that might be part of it.
I think it's like projected. It's like you believe these things, so clearly you are the most important person in your universe, so everybody else must believe
it's like they never grew up.
You believe.
And I'm not saying that as a generalization for everybody that age, because not everybody that age acts that way. I know a lot of people who the same age range don't act that way. I'm just saying it's the way they were brought up or whatever.
Yeah, Robin. Yeah, I think it's true. It's not all younger people though. I've seen. Some
people
we
were talking about that earlier.
Oh my god,
today,
I think some people are with just the whole attitude. I think it's just you are who you hang with. If everybody you hang with sort of shares the same values, the same beliefs that you do, and you're constantly hearing, again, the echo chamber mentality, and you constantly hear the same things over and over and over and over, and everybody you're with and everybody in your industry.
And we need to promote these ideas. We need to get it out there. We're going to change the world.
You're going to believe it.
We're going to make it better.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it reminds me of a religious cult. And the reason I'm saying that is because you look at I was in disclaimer when I was an impressionable young teen. I was in a kind of a fringy Christian group. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the tactics that those groups would use to control their members are the shunning, the shaming. Making sure that you use the right buzzwords to alert people that you're one of the good guys, that sort of thing. Making sure that all of your entertainment choices have been vetted by the leaders of that group. These things are very, very similar to what I see with a lot of the SJW creators, and it's almost and at that point, like, when you get people that are in those sorts of groups, they have no contact with people outside of their group because they're not allowed to. Because the people outside of their group might taint their worldview, but it's their job to evangelize. Like, basically, they wake up in the morning and they have to evangelize their doctrine. They're not allowed to talk to people outside of their belief system unless they're evangelizing to them. And I see so much of that with these SJW types on Twitter, where they, honest to God, that they honestly think they are like on a mission from God to convert.
Well, no, not God, but
mission from whatever they believe in, but their belief system is still a God, and they're on a mission to convert everybody. And if they can't be converted, then they get the sword.
Yeah, no, I agree that there's extremists on. We're talking extremists on both sides. I mean, I believe some extremists on the Comics Gate side can be that way too. I do. I think we're talking about the extremes on both sides.
I'm talking about the extreme, yeah.
Which are but unfortunately what's happening more and more is there
polarization.
People are very extreme one side to the other, are a small vocal minority of the problem, but then everybody just immediately generalizes everybody else as being, you're a friend of somebody at that group, so obviously I can't talk to you. You're a friend of somebody at that group, so obviously you're insane and you're clear this way. And that's not the case, but that's the way everybody's doing it. They're just lumping everybody in a complete group of other people that they're associating it with. You know what I mean? Whether or not the association's fair or valid doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I want to clarify here with Wrath of Porkins. We are not conservatives, and I think we've said this in many videos. We've never called it. We actually liked Solo.
I did like Solo. We got in trouble for that.
We got in trouble for liking Solo. We actually liked Solo. We are not conservatives. We're actually, I would consider us left-leaning moderates.
Yeah, we're mostly moderates.
We have a lot of friends on the left and the right. When I use the term SJW, and it is a derogatory term. And it's probably not a very fair term.
Yes, I was going to actually tell you not to use that term.
But the reason I use that is basically, I guess I don't know what else to call the people who are very, very far left that can't really be reasoned with anymore. Like, they're too far gone. But
it's like when they use the term alt-right Nazis for the people that are too far. They think too far to the right. They can't be reasoned with.
No, I'm not offended at all. Porkins, I'm not offended at all.
We get this all the time.
No, and we don't fit in with.
And when you're in the middle, everybody hates you.
Everybody hates you equally. Like, we got so much hate from actually liking Solo. We expected to hate it.
You have to pre-order that because it's really good.
Oh, yeah, okay. We actually got so much hate, and we got so much hate from the Star Wars bashing channels.
Oh, I got told to prove my geek cred.
Oh, my God.
and everything because of it. Yeah, so it's just
yeah.
we're just kind of the middle. We lean more left. We do. We see good things and bad things on both sides, and I think a lot of people are. But I don't think it's fair to lump people as a whole group based on the actions of a few. And I think that's what happens if you don't like Last Jedi. Well, clearly you're a misogynist man baby. Even if you're not.
Even if you have valid reasons for not liking it.
You're clearly a misogynist man baby, even though it's mostly women who don't like it.
If you don't like comic book professionals going on the offensive and attacking people on social media for their politics because you think it's unprofessional, then you're a Nazi. Which is how we kind of got dragged into this whole thing to begin with, is, having worked in comics, knowing a lot of people in comics, I kind of called shenanigans on some of the behavior and some of the numbers with Marvel, and just an armchair quarterback just said, hey, look, these are some of the things I think are going to happen. And I got lumped in.
Which happened, by the way.
Got lumped in with the Nazis.
Yeah, somehow you were a libtard snowflake and an alt-right Nazi in the same week. I don't know how you
I was
that.
I couldn't please anyone. I was a libtard snowflake and an alt-right Nazi.
Lots of friends
Geeky was told that she dropped her MAGA hat.
Yeah,
when she actually fights with her parents over Trump quite often. So it's funny because people don't actually know. But the thing is, what I always believe in is freedom of thought, freedom of speech. I'm not going to hate you because of your politics. I might not agree with you. And you know what? If it turns into an argument, I'd rather not have that argument. I'd rather, if we're talking about comics, we're talking about pop culture, we're talking about enjoyable things, I'd rather just sit down and talk about the things we like together than attack you for political differences.
Animaniacs, yes. I saw Animaniacs Can't Speak, We're So Tired. It's coming back. That's very exciting. I think Animaniacs is going to be fun.
I hope it's good.
I hope they don't. I hope they don't. We haven't seen any drawings yet. Who knows? We might change our mind if we see the art.
Help me push the term dark snowflakes for the alt-right cultists.
I'm just tired of it. And when you're in the middle, which we mostly are, you get it from everybody hates you. You can't make anybody happy. And like I said with She-Ra, if I watch it and I like it, I will say I like it, which will make a lot of people angry. But when we like Solo, we thought we'd hate it. We were convinced we would hate it.
Yeah, I was actually making fun.
I hate Last Jedi.
We were in the theater and I was taking pictures in the theater, and there was like 5 people in the theater.
Yeah, and we're like, we're going to hate this so bad. And we came out like, wow, that was really good. What happened? And then we got in trouble for that too. So you can't please anyone.
No, you can't. Right. I mean, my thing is look, I mean, I would love to see pop culture, comics, movies, video games go back to roll the clock back and be not in terms of content, but roll it back to a time when we all used to find common ground in this escapist entertainment. We can't do that anymore. Everything becomes a political argument, and it's so stupid.
Yeah. But anyway, we're kind of needing to and they're getting a new Clone Wars. They're finishing Clone Wars, which is good. I'm very excited about that.
Surprising, actually.
But we're gonna have to wrap this up because you got to go to bed soon because you have to get up at 3:30 in the morning.
3:30 in the morning, catch a flight. It's been fun, guys. We are gonna do more live streams. I know we don't really give you guys notice. We just kind of do it because
we have to
easier.
see when we have time.
Yeah, we have to see when we have time because we do travel a lot. So if we go for a week at a time without videos, we did not die. Don't worry.
Hopefully we didn't.
Hopefully we didn't. But it just means that we're probably busy doing other things. So. Geeky would be president. I'd be vice president.
I was gonna say you could be my vice president. I'd be
pretty
president.
much. We just want. I mean, I just want things to be because when I first started reading comics when I was a kid and I went to comic shops, we never talked about politics. It never came up. It was everybody was talking about comics and having a good time. It didn't matter if you were black or white or gay or straight. It didn't matter if you liked
it the same one or not.
No, we just talked about the things we loved, and it was an escape from the real world because frankly the real world sucks, and now you can't escape everything. Even the movies.
I escape the real world. It's called K-drama, and I go do that every time after I do a show because
K-drama's
K-drama's still fun.
But
K-drama's still fun.
It's so sad because even now, whether or not you like a movie, people make assumptions of your politics and your belief systems based on whether or not you like a movie. I mean, how freaking ridiculous.
Pick up your MAGA hat because you don't like She-Ra.
Pick up your MAGA hat.
That makes sense.
Come on.
I like the color blue. Well, how dare you? That means you're this or that because you don't like red or, it's like, okay, I like purple, okay? I like purple. Shut up.
Yeah, I would love for everybody to be able to just sit down and talk it out. And unfortunately, there are some people, I think on both sides, who just want to see the other side burn. Just because they can.
But unfortunately, those are
the loudest voices.
Those are the ones everybody associates each side with. But Yeah, they better not touch my K-dramas. That's all I gotta say. There will be blood if they touch my K-dramas.
I don't think they're going to, because actually Japan and Korea, like they don't, because they're trying to. People are trying to shove their politics into anime now, and I think there's gonna be a lot of resistance.
What's your favorite anime?
Oh my God, don't ask me that.
He hasn't watched anything for a while.
No. You know, I really like Last Exile.
Oh yeah, you do like Last Exile.
I love Last Exile.
And I've watched new ones and stuff too, like Attack on Titan and all them. But I still love Inuyasha.
Yeah, Inuyasha's awesome.
Inuyasha's still one of my favorites. I think I've watched it like 3 or 4 times. I always liked Inuyasha. Even though I do watch the new ones. We watched last night. Well, you didn't watch. You don't watch Attack on Titan. You didn't watch.
I don't have time.
Oh, what's the other one I watched? The Hero Academy was good too.
Yeah.
But you didn't watch these because you don't have time. And I like Fairy Tail.
Yeah, my knowledge. I mean, we literally have drawers and drawers full of anime box sets.
And I always love
DVDs.
Sailor Moon too. I have to say that.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop is awesome. That's classic. And, I was gonna say Evangelion, but I'm like, I don't know if I can sit through. I've sat through Evangelion like 3 times, and I don't know if I can do it again because it's just.
I don't really get to read manga much. I really don't get to, and I'm bummed about it because I don't. I can't think of the last time I read anything manga. My favorite book, though, I can tell you, is Howl's Moving Castle. The book and the movie are completely different, and I love the book. I like the movie too, but the book is amazing. Yeah, it's my favorite book of all time. I think I've read it like 7 or 8 times.
Anything Ghibli.
Rama's really good too.
Rama is good.
And what's the woman's name who did Rama and Inuyasha? I'm so tired I can't even think.
Rumiko.
Yeah, she's got inducted into the Eisner Hall of Fame for her work, and she should because she deserves it.
She's like the richest cartoonist in the world.
She deserves it. Her stuff's awesome. But right now, mostly I spend my time watching K-dramas. So, and unfortunately, with a lot of anime and K-dramas and stuff, it's all subtitled, and it has to be when I have time because we're often busy doing things I can't sit and read. You can't really write and read at the same time.
Yep, Rumiko Takahashi.
Yes. Yep. She's amazing. I love her.
Yeah,
lots of hugs to her.
Yeah, she started when she's like a teenager, and she's like in her 60s.
Yeah, so it can be done. Go out there and if they close a door, open a window. If they close the window, take your sledgehammer and smash the shit out of the wall and make your own door.
That's Geeky's presidential.
That's my life lesson.
Robot Carnival. So I made Squid King sit through Robot Carnival the other night. They have it on Amazon Prime, and that was one of the first animes I've ever watched because they used to have it at Blockbuster Video, and I mean, it didn't really age well, but it was so cool just to see all the different styles. And they cleaned it up. It looks really good. It's on Amazon Prime. Robot Carnival it was a blast from the past. Like, I love the old 90s stuff, like Battle Angel. I can't tell if I'm excited about the movie or not because that was another one of my first anime was the original Battle Angel. I don't know. It does look weird.
But I like, Sailor Moon's always good. And they're bringing the movies out to the theaters again for Sailor Moon, too.
Yeah.
But anyway... I watched the first one. I haven't got past the first season because you had to read the subtitles, and I just didn't have time. So if I had to choose between subtitle reading, I'm going to pick K-drama.
Yeah, I'm just so busy these days. I don't have time to sit down. I watch movies, but I don't really have time to sit down and watch an entire series anymore. It makes me sad.
Hollywood destroys most everything. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, they do.
But sorry, I was answering them. But we're going to have to go because our air conditioner's off too, so it didn't make noise. And it's really, really hot in here.
Yeah, it is hot.
Yeah, they go out.
You're hot.
Or something. Yeah, there you go. That's
Geeky's,
me. That's
Geeky's
my
got
moral
steam.
for life. If people tell you no, you just find a way around it. Or just make people tell me no, and I'm like, watch me. I'm going to do it.
That has been pretty much how we've lived our lives the last, 10 years is pretty much like
if you wait in line and follow the rules, you will never get anywhere.
If you follow the rules, you will never get anywhere because everybody's doing the same thing. So you have to figure out another way.
Do the workaround. But we're gonna have to go because you have to get up.
Yeah, I do. But it's been really fun. I mean, this is a really good conversation. I wish everybody could sit down and actually take off all your clothes. Yeah, okay.
No, we're not doing that. Yeah, that's a good song. That makes me think of Lost, or was it Austen Land? When she starts, if you've seen, I like Jane Austen too. So anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and go for real because we have to. We're going to try to do more when we can. Definitely, if you want to do a comic, do not let any of this stop you.
Find a way.
Still check out Webtoons for a place to host it. The one good thing about Webtoons, I will say, is there's a built-in audience there. There's already a bunch of eyeballs. You don't have to bring them to you, and you can use that to your advantage. So make sure you do that. If you're looking for a cool comic to read that's steampunk fantasy and romantic comedy, you can check out Shadowbinders.
Yeah, go Webtoons.
I would say to go, well, it's on Webtoons, but I'd say go to our website because
Shadowbinders.com.
We're just started redoing it.
Yeah, we haven't been updating. We really want to get back on track. We're just really, struggling trying to find out how to make money at this thing again, because it's really not.
So, but go check it out.
I mean, we're gonna get back on.
It's free. You can go read it for free.
That's why it doesn't make money, because it's free.
Don't do what we did.
Took Project Wonderful away.
We learned all the lessons to share with you, so you don't have to.
Yeah, we made old mistakes, so
you don't have to. All right, we will catch you guys later because it's really hot in here. So we'll talk to you later.
All right, guys.
Say bye.
Thank you so much. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll try to give you guys more of a heads up when we do live streams. So.
Yeah, I know we weren't doing it for the next 3 days because you won't be here.
I won't be here. So.
Okay, so we'll see you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.